I have written and emailed several people about this. I have been seeking answers or an explanation or even a wild guess since 2006, and I never hear anything. I thought maybe you may find some interest in this story. One afternoon in the summer of 2000, as I was cleaning the inside of my M1 tank after returning from the field, I received a phone call from my wife, now ex. She sounded a bit rattled and nervous. The first thing she asked me was where I was and what I was doing. I told her that I was working on my tank in the motor pool. She started to sound frustrated and told me to stop messing with her and again asked me where I was and what I was doing. I again told her exactly where I was and what I was doing. Because we did not yet have the technology and cell phones that we do today, I had her talk to the gunner on my tank. After he vouched for me, I asked her what was wrong because she was obviously shaken, and she is not one who gets shaken very easily. She told me that she was in the living room of our house. She had been cleaning house that day, was just about done. As she was fixing to finish up, she said she saw me standing in the kitchen. And then I was suddenly gone. At that, I tore off my maintenance coveralls, told my first-line supervisor that I had an emergency at home, and hauled ass to my house thinking that someone was in my home with my family. Once I got home, I found my wife sitting in the living room on the couch. All my kids were taking naps. She had this look on her face as if she was trying to figure out a difficult puzzle or trying to process some strange information that she'd just heard. I asked her to tell me exactly what happened. As stated, she was just finishing up some house cleaning. As she was standing in the living room, she looked up for a quick second and saw me standing in the kitchen. At first, she didn't pay any mind to it as something out of the ordinary. I lived there, it was my home, I had a key. Why would I not be in my house? But then just as soon as she looked down within that split second, she remembered that I was at work and was not normally home at that time. She didn't remember me coming in. And she didn't remember hearing my loud pickup pull up in the drive. She also felt that something was not normal but couldn't put a name to what she felt. So, she immediately looked back at me, and saw that I was wearing my maintenance coveralls outside of the motor pool, something even she knew was against Army regulations, and knew that I would never wear those out of the motor pool. She also noticed this blank stare on my face. She said I stared at her with a slightly gaped open mouth and my eyes were wide open and never blinked. She said I held direct eye contact for a few seconds before I turned to walk into my boys' bedroom where at that time they were taking a nap. She was frozen with fear and was unable to immediately follow me. When she was finally able to move, she ran to my boys' room and found that they were still asleep, and I was nowhere to be seen. First, she said she never heard my pickup pull into the drive and never saw me walk in, but there I was in the kitchen. I would have had to have walked past her or come into the back door of the house, which can clearly be seen from the living room. Second, I was wearing exactly what I was really wearing at the time she saw me. And third, she said I was nowhere to be seen after she ran into my boys' room. There are no other ways into or out of the house other than the front and back door. The window in my boys' room did not open and was in fact nailed shut and it not been tampered with at all. Also, I considered that she might be messing with me. But my ex-wife was not much of a joker. She would never joke about something like this. Fast forward a few years to 2006. I had already been to Iraq and back, got out of the army, divorced, and was then a Killeen, Texas police officer. I was dating a girl who lived in Wichita Falls, Texas. One night, I assisted an officer in what is called a felony takedown. In other words, this officer had stopped a car he knew had a wanted, violent felon in it. After the arrest, I got back into my patrol car to resume my patrol duties. As I was getting into my car, my phone started to ring. It was my girlfriend, who, by the way, is also now an ex. The first words out of her mouth were, "Where did you go?" I asked her what she was talking about. She said she saw me standing in her living room. She walked out of her bedroom and saw me standing there. Just like with my ex-wife, I had the blank look, gaped open mouth, and held an eye-to-eye stare for several seconds before walking away. She said I walked into the bathroom in the hallway of her house. She also told me that I was wearing exactly what I was really wearing at that time. I was wearing my police uniform. This time I was holding a shotgun. At first, I thought maybe she had talked my ex-wife but quickly dismissed that idea for several reasons. First of all, my ex-wife hates me and everything about me, and that includes anyone having anything to do with me. Secondly, I was only seeing this girl for about 2 weeks at the time, and she and my ex-wife, as far as I know, had never met, and certainly didn't have each other's phone numbers. And third, I was in fact holding a shotgun at about the same time she saw me in her living room. That was the big one for me, the shotgun. I had used it during the felony takedown. In her house, it was possible to sneak in without her noticing, especially if she was in her bedroom. But there were no windows or exit doors in this bathroom, as it's right in the middle of the house. I know what a doppelganger is, but from what I've read, only the person can see their own doppelganger. I have never heard of anyone seeing another person's doppelganger. I've heard that this happens because either the person who sees me is thinking particularly strong about me, or I may have been thinking strongly about them at that time. Well, when I was cleaning my tank, all I was thinking about was making my platoon sergeant happy, and during the felony takedown I was thinking more about all that could go wrong at that time. Also, my own mother has claimed to have heard my voice in her home when I was deployed to Iraq. I told her that maybe she was dreaming or mistaking. No, she is adamant that she was wide awake and swears that it was my voice calling her. If you have an idea as to what this may have been or have any explanation, I am open to hearing anything at this point.